Toyotathon is on at Franklin Toyota. Hundreds of new Toyotas are Toyotathon priced.
Save up to $7,000 off 2015 Avalons, or get up to $6,000 off 2015 Prius.
Find it at Franklin Toyota in Statesboro.
On this week's show, Georgia Southern head coach Willie Fritz officially leaves the Eagles for Tulane University. We'll hear from athletics director Tom Kleinlein and Willie Fritz himself. All that and more as we welcome you inside the Eagles Nest. And welcome inside the Eagles Nest. I'm your host Josh Aubrey, being joined by sports editor and Georgia Southern beat writer for the Statesboro Herald, Mike Anthony. And Mike, it's been a wild couple of days since we shot our Eagles Nest that I thought would be airing on Friday. We've been thrown a little off course here with the news that Georgia Southern head coach Willie Fritz has indeed taken another job. He's heading to greener pastures, I guess you could say, to the green wave of Tulane. I don't know if it's greener pastures, but their colors are green and they are the green wave. And you used it in the headline for the Statesboro Herald. Your thoughts on Coach Fritz leaving Georgia Southern? I thought we had dodged a bullet with Iowa State, but boom, in came Tulane. And I guess many of us didn't realize that he was in the running back in 2011.
Well, I think this comes as a little bit of a surprise with all the coaching openings that were out there a couple of weeks ago. They filled very quickly. They filled mostly with assistants, with coordinators, not with head coaches, which would just open up another job. That's usually what you're afraid of when you have that coaching carousel going around the last couple of weeks of every regular season. But lo and behold, Tulane's out there. One of the names that wasn't really brought up, we had talked about Iowa State. Rutgers got a little bit of a run. Virginia was right there. And then little old Tulane, who has had, I think, one winning season in about 20 years. They definitely are looking to go in a different direction. They've hired nothing but assistants and coordinators before. It hasn't worked for them. They made a commitment to go after a sitting head coach, one with a winning record. That's exactly what they got in Willie Fritz. A great run here in 2 years with Georgia Southern. I'm sure that a lot of Eagle fans hope to see him back next season. But beginning this season, there were already some rumblings that, at this level, the lights are brighter when you do a good job of coaching, and when you're at a smaller school that doesn't pay a ton of money, it's only a matter of time before someone comes calling, and unfortunately for the Eagles, that's exactly what we saw.
17-7 here at Georgia Southern, of course, named the Sun Belt Conference Coach of the Year. No surprise there, coming in, going undefeated, winning the league title in his first year, and Georgia Southern's first year in FBS. Quite a remarkable run for the guy. Personally, to me, one of the nicer guys I've seen, and one of the rare, when you're a nice guy and a good head coach, doesn't come around too much. I'm going to miss him. I'm sure you will as well. He's been very accessible to the media, a lot of success. And the thing that I think a lot of people forget is that when he was at Sam Houston State, he threw the ball quite a bit. They averaged almost 300 yards passing a game. Came here and really adapted to what he had, much the way I believe Chris Hatcher did at least his first year at Georgia Southern, which to me shows a lot about his coaching abilities, that he was able to adapt to what he had.
Yeah, keeping the Georgia Southern fans happy may have been, what showed some teams, especially Tulane, that he was the right guy for the job. You mentioned his passing pedigree there at Sam Houston State. Being able to do something that's outside of your comfort zone and do it well, I would imagine, I'm not on the search committee for any of these head coaches, but I would imagine that's what search committees, that's what athletic directors like to see. So you see a guy not only with the challenge of doing something a little different, but also the monumental task of taking a team from FCS to FBS, not only doing that, but doing it with Coach Jeff Monken's players, guys that he didn't really know the skill set of, had to kind of learn on the fly. He was able to adjust, he was able to succeed. That's what people like to see. That's the sort of thing that's going to get you hired away. But I think that I could speak for most Georgia Southern fans when I say that, until Georgia Southern can offer the money that Tulane can offer, that P5 schools can offer, I guess I'd want to see the same thing happen to the next guy. You'd rather be seeing coaches hired away than having to fire them and get rid of them yourselves, that's for sure.
Well, you don't want the revolving door, although Arkansas State's done a pretty good job with, 4 coaches in 5 years. They've won the league title this year. They've been going to bowl games every year. They're paying their guys, a pretty good chunk of change. I believe they were making somewhere in the neighborhood of $600,000-$700,000 a year. You mentioned the money. The tough thing for Georgia Southern fans to acknowledge or get under wrap their heads around is the fact that Georgia Southern right now is still one of the lowest paying jobs in the Sun Belt, one of the bottom 3. I think Fritz was 6th in the league right now, with Georgia State just a little bit above. I think a lot of people assume he's making close to $1 million. I believe it was 500, if I'm not mistaken. From what we've heard, there was a contract on the table for somewhere between 600, maybe with incentives closer to 7. But when you're talking the money that Tulane is being able to throw at them, I know a lot of people are thinking, well, you're leaving, for a comparable conference. Not really. The money's a lot better than what he's making here, and people have to know that we may be stuck in this kind of revolving door for a while as long as there's success.
Well, yeah, it definitely can be a revolving door if you continue to hire not only the right guys, but not be able to write a big enough check, and that sort of falls on the Georgia Southern fan base, the administration, to get that number up there. I know that there's no easy fix. You can't just wave a magic wand and all of a sudden add another 0 to that check, but it's something that Georgia Southern's been committed to. They were committed to moving up to FBS. They were committed to playing with the big boys. They've shown that they can do it on the field. Now it's time to do it in the back offices, in the administration rooms, in the booster meetings.
Well, I think they're a little bit hamstrung with the move up to FBS, to tell you the truth. It just doesn't seem like there's that much money sitting around there to be able to pay a head coach. That's where it comes on to the shoulders a lot of times of the boosters, and what we've seen in the past where boosters can make a big impact on paying somebody a lot more than what Georgia Southern can. So as you've mentioned, it's going to be up to them to decide in a lot of ways whether or not the next Georgia Southern head coach stays here for a year, 2, or maybe more than that. We did get a chance to hear from Athletics Director Tom Kleinlein. We'll get to some other things in just a moment, but first let's get the official word from AD Tom Kleinlein.
Well, good evening, everybody. Unfortunately, not a very good time for Eagle Nation. Was informed this afternoon that our head football coach, Willie Fritz, will be accepting or has accepted the job at Tulane University. So we are once again in a national search for a head football coach. I want to thank his family and everything he did for our university over the past 2 years. And we are now in a coach's search and are excited about moving forward and finding the next leader of our football program. I've informed our players this afternoon via text message kind of what was going to be going on in the next couple of days. Our coaches have come in off the road for recruiting, and I will be meeting with them in the next 24 to 48 hours. And then I will be hitting the road and starting a search. So right now that's where we are as far as our program and our search for our head football coach. And at this point, I'll take any questions if there are any.
Who will be heading up practice on Monday?
That's yet to be determined. I think we're going to go the next couple of days over the weekend and sit down and talk with our coaching staff, and we'll make the best decision for our football program and decide who needs to be leading our football program when we start practicing for our bowl game. Yeah, pretty important, and I think those will be some conversations that we'll have with the staff here in the next, like I said, 24 to 48 hours, and we'll have a good idea of that as we move forward. Willie let me know prior to us going down to Mobile that he was going to interview in New York for the Tulane position. So at that point, my antenna kind of go up, and we start to kind of look at some things and start to do some research internally. And then when he came back and we talked while he was in New York interviewing, we talked last night, and then he informed me that he was going to stay over and then fly back today. And then I talked to him about 11 o'clock this morning, and at that point I hadn't gotten an official word, but it was pretty good indication that he was probably heading to Tulane, and then I got an official word this afternoon.
Is it important to try to get a new coach in before the GoDaddy Bowl, or how quick would you like this to be?
Yeah, our timeline is, everything revolves around recruiting and trying to keep a very good class that we have already committed to us. So we're going to try to do the best we can with the resources we have to get somebody in as quickly as possible. What I don't want to do is rush through the process and make a mistake based upon time and not based upon fit and who's the right coach. So we'll work through that, and we'll get it done as quickly as we can.
You had success hiring a coach that was successful on the FCS level. Is that the route you hope to go with this time, or are you open to FBS assistant coaches?
Yeah, the one thing I'll tell you is that obviously because of the success we've had in the last 2 years, this is not the same job it was 2 years ago. I can already tell by the type of people who are reaching out to me and the people who are reaching out to me that there is a high level of interest from a number of coaches at both levels. So it'll be a big pool of people that I'll have to cipher through and look and find the best fit for our institution.
Can you explain the buyout for Willie Fritz?
Right now, his contract states that he gets $100,000 if or he doesn't get. We get $100,000. Excuse me. The school gets $100,000. I wouldn't want to pay him to take another job. She wouldn't keep me around if I did that.
Why was there a stipulation put into that tied Dr. Keel, yourself, and Coach Fritz together? Because I thought the buyout initially was almost $1 million.
Yeah, the buyout was initially almost $1 million, and then when we went through this process last year, there was some inquiries about Willie and obviously some other people that came and inquired about him being a head coach. That was part of our negotiation that we put into his new contract. He was concerned about the stability at the university and felt like there's something on our end that we could do to help him with that, and we did.
You regret that?
No. I sat down and talked to him. I think Willie's probably going to decide not to coach the bowl game. I haven't really had that official conversation with him yet, but I think it's leaning towards him probably not coaching the bowl game. I know there was no official meeting of any kind today with a team that I know of now. I know he may have individually met with kids that hadn't gone home for the break yet. We sent the players home after their exams. We were going to bring them back on Tuesday to get ready for bowl prep. So most of our kids are gone home.
You worried about their focus of the bowl game with all this stuff going on?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of distractions that are associated with what's going on right now. But I think at the end of the day, when we come back on Tuesday and they clearly know who the interim head coach is, and as their direction is set forth to move forward, I think they're 18 to 21-year-olds and they want to compete. And one thing that they do right now is they're going to go out and represent our institution and our football program, and they have an opportunity on a national stage to show everybody how good this football program is, and I think they'll take a lot of pride in that and do well.
If 3 or 4 different coaches decide to join Coach Fritz, will you want them coaching in the bowl game?
Well, I think our plan right now is to have our majority of our staff, if not all of our staff, coach the bowl game. Okay, that's Willie. When Willie hit 6 wins and we looked at the season, we began as an institution to sit down and look at a contract, and we had presented a contract to him long before this day about what we wanted him to do, and we exchanged some feedback back and forth with agents, and then it got to a point where conversations kind of stalled, and at that point you kind of figured something was up, and then lo and behold, a day later he's interviewing at Tulane.
The money that you'll be able to offer the next head coach, will it be comparable to what he was making, or do you think you can get more?
Well, I think it'll be comparable to what we're doing in our conference, and I think a lot of that depends upon the head coach that we bring in here. When you look at the salary that we were offering Willie, a lot of that was based upon success in the league and being a head coach and being in this league for a year and basically winning a conference championship. So I think we'll sit down and we'll put a competitive salary package and compensation package together to attract a number of candidates to our job, and I think we'll be fine.
Well, you're comparable to the league right now. You were 6th as far as where he ranked. You got a couple that are $1 million, pretty close to that. Where do you see as comparable?
Well, I think when you look at salary structure in the league, again, when you sit down and you talk to an individual, you treat every individual differently based upon their experiences, what they bring to the table. I think our university and our foundation and all the supporters of Eagle Nation have made a commitment to try to keep our salaries as competitive as they can. So that's one thing that we will try to do with this situation as well.
Having an interim president like Dr. Bartels, does that hamstring you at all?
She's just like any other president. She signs my check every day, and she has full authority to hire whoever. And I can't wait for our candidates to sit down and meet with her and see her passion that she has for Georgia Southern University. And what's important to me is we sit down and we establish a criteria of this. Okay, our next head coach and any head coach that I'm going to hire at this institution is going to understand what Georgia Southern is about, our values, our traditions, and what we stand for. They're also going to believe in the total development of the student athlete, whether that be on the football field, in the classroom, or out in the community. Okay, so those are the things we're going to emphasize. Now, is the triple option part of that? Sure, it's part of it, but I don't think it's an end-all to what we do. There's a lot of people that run a lot of different offenses and are very successful. To me, it's more about being able to come in here and lead young men and do the right things for our university than it is what type of offense you run. In a strange way, I'm glad they're upset, because what that means is that this is an important place to them. And I want them to keep that passion, keep the passion for why this is important in their lives. Understand the situation. We all don't like it. We all don't, we all want things to stay. Nobody likes change, okay? But change is going to happen. I can't control other people's views of what they feel is better for them and with other jobs. All I know is that our job is a great job. It's a great job because of the community support, the university support, and because of Eagle Nation. So we all make this an attractive job for people, and let's just keep doing that, doing those things. Stick with me, bear with me, because we're going to have a timetable, and there's going to be a lot of things written in newspapers that you all may put out that I can't necessarily say are always going to be true, okay? But at the end of the day, we're going to find the best leader for this football program, and we're going to get a lot of attractive people who are attracted to this job because of the things that Eagle Nation has done over the years.
Well, early in the week, they contacted me and asked me if I'd be interested in the position and wanted to visit. I told them I would, and I visited with them, and they really said a lot of great things, and this stage of my career and really in my life, it's I don't know how many more years I'm gonna be doing this. Hopefully another 10 years, but you never know. And it just was a really good opportunity, and too good of an opportunity to pass up.
How hard of a decision was it?
It's a tough decision. My wife and I really enjoyed here in Statesboro, and everybody's treated us extremely well. I'm really proud of the legacy that we leave here. I don't think anybody imagined what we accomplished in these 2 seasons. I'm very, very proud of that. I'm very thankful for the opportunity that Dr. Keel and Tom Kleinlein presented to me a couple years ago. I do enjoy these kind of challenges, and certainly moving from 1AA to Division I was tough, but I'm fortunate. I got a great coaching staff and great support staff, and most importantly, the players. They really bought into what I was selling, and they did a great job of playing their tails off. This is a group that was a 1AA group primarily, and really not have anybody on the roster that had a legitimate Division I offer. For them to come in and accomplish what they did is just outstanding. So I'm very, very proud of them.
You mentioned the coaching staff. Have you talked to them, and do you know who you'd like to take with you?
I've got I haven't had a chance to talk to them. They've been on the road recruiting. I'm gonna visit with the guys the next couple of days, and talk to them. And every guy's different, and it's obviously going to be their decision, and also my decision too about what kind of fits we have in Louisiana as compared to Georgia.
Any chance you're going to coach the bowl game?
That's a decision for Coach Kleinlein to make, Tom Kleinlein.
He said that he was going to talk to you about it. Obviously, you guys haven't talked yet.
No, we haven't.
Would you consider it if he asked
You know, if that's what he wanted and the players wanted, you know, the last thing I want to do is be a distraction. And you know, there's probably a reason why people don't do it, I guess. And I don't want to be a distraction in any way, shape, or form. And you know, I want the Eagles to go out and play the very best they possibly can. And you know, and I want to see a W out of it. But the last thing I want to do is be a distraction.
Tom Kleinlein had mentioned that a new contract offer was made to you recently. How close did they come to meeting what possibly would make you say yes? Or was the significant more at Tulane? Or was it more than money?
Well, it's a lot of things, you know, the challenge, the conference, you know, different things like that. But, you know, obviously you got to look at things in where you're at in your career and those kind of different things. And, you know, so I've just been really proud to be the head coach here at Georgia Southern and the way, you know, Coach Kleinlein and you know, everybody here treated me. They treated me well and you know, and I'm very proud of what we accomplished as well.
What attracts you about Tulane?
You know, the conference, the opportunity to build something that's never been done there before. You know, the goal is going to be to bring a consistent winner to Tulane. You know, so those are some of the things. I really didn't know anything about Georgia Southern when Tom Kleinlein called me, kind of out of the blue. And same thing kind of occurred here with Tulane, and he had done his homework on me, and he knows it's going to be quite a chore, you know, to get that program turned around, and felt like I was the right guy for the job.
When you came here, obviously Dr. Keel was here and Tom Kleinlein was here, and there was a buyout clause that was changed because they said, according to Tom, that you were a little concerned about, you know, whether they'd be around. Well, Dr. Keel left, your buyout changed. Were you at all concerned about who would be the next president and what they would want to do as far as their significance as far as athletic play?
No, it's very important to have a great president, great athletic director, but I think whoever ends up coming in here, and they'll find somebody great. You know, I think they'll know the significance of football here at Georgia Southern, and they'll hire somebody who's very supportive, I'm sure. So that didn't really play into anything.
Just want to confirm the details of your interview. It was in New York on Thursday.
Yes, it was kind of interesting. I was over in Mobile at the time, and I was 130 miles away from New Orleans, and but that's not where they were set up. So, you know, I ended up going up there Thursday and flying back this morning. So it was boom, boom, very quick, and so yes.
The fans in Tulane, quite different than the fans at Georgia Southern. It seems at times if you don't win a championship here, they think something's wrong. At Tulane, it seems like if you do better than they did the year before, you might be praised up and down. Has it been frustrating at all to have those kind of expectations from Georgia Southern?
No, you want to go someplace where football is important. They've built this great facility. You know, and I think, you know, I don't really get into that too much. I really think that I think most of the people, you know, realize what we accomplished. I mean, it was very significant to go from a, you know, it's like I talked about after the game with our guys late in the season. I can't remember who we beat. I think it might have been after the Troy game. And I told them I just wanted to, you know, tip my hat to them. You know, something that kind of has gone without saying is, you know, the Citadel is, you know, Southern Conference champions, and you know, we beat them pretty soundly. And you know, it was just a couple of years ago that was the league we were playing in. You know, so that's another I think major accomplishment for us, and went pretty long ways in the playoffs.
Have you signed a contract with Tulane?
Well, I haven't signed it, but we've agreed to terms. It's, they provided me with great security. You know, I can say that.
What are you going to miss about your time in Statesboro?
Just getting to know the area, I guess, a little bit more, and the friendships we've developed over the last couple of years. The tough thing about being a coach is your first year, you kind of have your nose to the grindstone, and you don't really get a chance to look up and see what's going on. And my wife and I kind of got to be able to do a few of those things last summer. And, first time I'd been down to Savannah other than to speak last year. I remember I was like, wow, this is a neat place. And she goes, you've never even been here, have you? I said, well, I've been in and out. So it's a neat area of the country, and an area that I really knew very little about, so that's probably the toughest thing. We've developed some really strong friendships here as well.
And read the paper. That'll wrap things up for now. For Mike Anthony, I'm Josh Aubrey. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again soon.